Believe it or not, this is the first Jack Wolf knife I've ever purchased. You know, for 350 bucks, I could have got me a couple of Great Eastern cutlery knives or a small pile of case knives, all made in the USA. But tonight, that story changes. Apparently, I forgot that I purchased this knife on Whatnot the first week I was shopping there. It's exciting and I bought a lot of stuff. It's set in the box with a dozen or so knives still awaiting their review. Embarrassingly, I could not remember what it was, only that it wasn't a slip joint. Imagine how excited I was to get a second first impression, and now I wish I was filming the second unboxing. Unfortunately, I didn't, because Jack Wolf Nitch design Scuffle is a collector's zen. The sticky tells the story why I paid less than the retail value for this knife. They were running factory second sale, and this one supposedly has mismatched anodizing. I'm glad the sticky was still in there, because otherwise I would not have noticed the mismatch. Kudos to Blade City, by the way, for their honest disclosure and not trying to sell it at full retail price. This model comes in an energy drink-sized aluminum can, but instead of expiration date, it says Crystal BLRP 8 September 2025 on the bottom. I think knowing production date adds to collectability, and the can is also stamped Made in England. All their knives, from what I understand, come with this like collectible cardboard, I don't know what to call it, token, coin. Somebody please educate me. And speaking of the knife, maybe we should look at it. Maybe I should show the knife and talk about why I think it was a good grab. They swaddled it in flannel pretty good. Ta-da! This thing is purple. It's supposed to be blue and purple. I think that's what blurp means. I don't speak Jack Wolf, but I think they say it's blurple. Blurple? Am I saying it right? So let's see why I got it under the retail value, which is very unusual for Jack Wolf collaboration knives. I think they said that the pocket clip anodizing doesn't color match the rest of the knife. So I see a lot of the same purple on the scale here and on the pocket clip, as well as on the other side. Yeah, I mean, help me out, guys. I see this sort of reddish purple over here and on the pocket clip. Where is the mismatch? Ooh, look at that. Are these solid integral bolsters? Is that what I'm seeing here? Wow. And I'm not talking about integral handle. I am talking about the frame half and the bolster being one continuous piece of titanium. It's kind of hard to show off crystallized titanium under the artificial light, but what it resembles the most to me is fish scales sort of suspended in clear resin, or microabalone. From what I understand, crystallizing titanium involves a very deep vacuum and very high temperature. I've encountered it for the first time on this WE or CKF knife, but this slab of titanium was first satin finished or polished, then crystallized, and afterwards anodized twice to get the purple and the blue colors. Any titanium experts here? Please chime in. I know, CBRX opened that blade already. Hold on, guys, don't worry, it's coming up. First, I was a certified machinist in my younger days, and let me tell you something. To get this kind of fitment between two independent plates of titanium and to get this microscopic fitment line here, it takes some serious doing. I don't care if you own a CNC. The setup for this is both extensive and expensive. Not a huge surprise, considering that Nick Rogers of Nitch Designs is the author of this knife. Here you go. Excellent detent, nice deployment, and look at this deep hollow grind. And very nice, very prominent satin finish. It makes me think of Sebenza meet Medford. Let's test this theory. Here's the one. Ooh. And here's the other. You can see this is a fingerprint magnet. You can see the similarities and dissimilarities in this shot, hopefully. But something about perpendicular satin finish strikes my fancy. Yes, that CKF has a very attractive hand-wrapped longitudinal satin finish. But I'll be honest with you, while I appreciate all the labor and mastery that goes into this, something primeval in me actually is more attracted to that. And let's take some measurements. I promise it will get even more exciting as we go, but for now don't forget to do all these things to help out my channel, especially if you enjoyed the video so far. A full-length knife, just 1/16 shy of 8 inches, and looks like 202 millimeters. The blade length measured from the handle is 3.5 inches, 89 millimeters, and the actual functional edge length is, that's the right way to do it, 3.25 inches, and I have to see it in millimeters, 82 millimeters. So full-size knife. I wouldn't classify it as medium. The handle fits really well in my medium hand. I wear medium to large gloves. And the center of balance, let's find it carefully. Ooh, it's a little bit on the handle heavy side because of this widening of the handle here, but that enables a slightly easier manipulation. Maybe not. I'm just afraid to drop it. There you go. And I like when the handle is shaped so that your thumb rests comfortably for when you need to stab something real hard. I like that. So really good ergos and absolutely beautiful grind. And now let's go over functionality again. So it's a direct straight down push button flick. Obviously I can do a light switch flick as well. Works either way. Mainly the reason for that is that the bolster lock designed in such a way that there's no way for your fingers here to compress this spring slash lock bar. So it always moves freely under its own spring tension, and that makes for very nice spidey flick. Ooh. And that makes for a very nice spidey flick, a little more energetic than other way. And I can even jam my thumb in here. And you know, I'll be honest with you, I actually prefer it this way without a pronounced cutout here, because 99% of the time I'll either do this or this. So a really easy access though to the unlocking surface here. When I press in, there's enough width for my thumb to fully engage this, and there's absolutely no double clutch. It's not a guillotine like, let's say, Vero Engineering knives, but by no means it's a Sebenza, and it resembles very closely, I guess, a little bit of a softer movement on the CKF here. There you go. And how about Medford's creation? I think that was their first experiment in actually putting bearings in the knife. A lot of tension on the handle here. So Medford is still a Medford. Not a ping against Greg, it's just a different school of thought. S90V should be insanely, absolutely idiotically sharp out of the box. And I'm going to test this theory using this paper towel tube here. It's uneven on the bottom, so it's not attached to my bench. Here we go. It's all about the angle of attack. And I'm having a little more difficulties than I expected with this knife. So we have to take a look at this edge under the microscope. Maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit of a lack of honing that I'm detecting. Let's grab the microscope and take a look. I'm just going to film directly through the app. Here's satin finish on primary grind. Here's the designer logo. And here's my favorite finish. Here's the edge, known to nerds as secondary bevel. Okay, I see things. Very fine apex, but is it actually steel or it's burr that we're seeing? The edge is a little jagged. I'm trying to show you the best I can here. It's hard to hold the mic. There you go. See the jaggedness of the edge? It's not an even apex. It's more likely to be burr protruding past the apex. Perhaps they designated it a factory second before putting the finishing touches on the blade. Here's the tip, very nicely formed, no issues here. And here's the opposite side of the tip. Very nice, symmetrical and consistent angle between the two sides. Let's check out sharpening tool and how it blends with the plunge line on both sides of the blade. No shark fin, good job. And now it's time to check the blade for hardness. Before I start any hardness test, I verify calibration of my Rockwell tester. And to do that, I use this independently certified, serialized, and rated 62 HRC calibration block. These are not cheap. I had to pay extra to get the independently certified block, and because most of the blades I am testing are between 58 and 65 HRC, I picked the one rated 62 HRC. These blocks run a couple $100 and they don't last forever because the pokes have to be spaced a certain way, so eventually I'll run out of room. Any help you can provide to my channel would be greatly appreciated and used toward the purchase of the next calibration block. And on the first attempt, we got a near perfect calibration at 62.1 HRC, but just in case, out of abundance of caution, I'm going to poke it one more time, just to be sure, because I haven't tested for about 4 or 5 days, and I want to make sure, like 100% certain that my device is still calibrated. Hopefully, this diligent approach convinces you to subscribe to my channel, and this way you will always get accurate information about the blades that I test. 62.2 is well within required calibration. In fact, it's excellent both in accuracy and repeatability. And now I'm going to speed up this segment to X to save you some time. Meanwhile, the tests will be running as continuous uninterrupted footage so that you know there are no shenanigans or some kind of substitutes behind the scene. So sit back, relax, pour a glass of your favorite beverage and enjoy the test for the next couple of minutes. All right, 61.7, pretty high range for CPM S90V steel. I would say 90% of manufacturers trying to hit 59 to 61 HRC, which is nominal for this steel. And anything over 61.5 HRC gives you a maximum edge retention. 61.6 on the second poke. A true steel nerd would ask a question whether this extra hardness will jeopardize the toughness or resistance to fracturing of this blade. At this range, not quite. If it went over 62.5, maybe 63, you know, then I would start to worry, especially on a thin blade geometry like this one. So at almost 62 HRC or at 61.7 average, I am very comfortable stating that the selection of hardness was properly done, the heat treat is good, and this blade will perform really well. As I am reassembling the knife, I am noticing an overkill. Look at this bearing, specifically at the cage, or that washer-like part where the balls are recessed. It's solid brass. It's not stamped like on the less expensive knives. Now, is it absolutely necessary for high performance? No, but among enthusiasts, this type of bearing is almost invariably more welcome than any other type, with the only possible step up from there being a multi-row solid brass cage bearing. Actually, there are a lot of misconceptions about the bearings in the knife community, and I am starting to work on a video that will address those misconceptions and explain in excruciating detail what is actually important and what is not important about a pivot bearing on a pocket knife. So please make sure your notifications are on if you're a subscriber, because I wouldn't want you to miss that video. Quality machining is another hidden feature that is prevalent in this knife. All the fits and tolerances are extremely tight, comparing only to Chris Reeve knives, in my experience. And it takes some doing to make sure everything is in alignment when the knife goes together. But once it goes together, it's a very precise assembly, and that explains somewhat elevated price of this particular knife. And another thing, all the hardware, screws, everything is machined in-house. They're not run-of-the-mill, catalog bought parts. All these details add up to a very precise assembly, and I'll verify it here in a second. And what's going through my mind as I'm wrapping up the reassembly is this is actually one of the very few knives that I've tested on my channel that I could not find any serious or even moderately serious issues. I don't even have small peeves other than that lack of honing. And as a sharpening enthusiast, I actually am looking forward to putting finishing touches onto this edge myself, and not because I think that I can do a better job than the manufacturer, rather because that allows me to sort of connect to the blade, to its steel, and experience the heat treat firsthand, literally. And now I'm measuring the spacing between the frame halves, first in the back of the handle and then in the front, to see if all these precise machining techniques added up to a precise assembly. I am getting 1 to 2 thousandths of an inch difference between the front and the back, and that's over 4-inch span. Not only is it extremely accurate, it's very satisfying. Clearly, this knife is geared toward high precision and high edge performance, and to verify that, one final measurement I will make today is the behind the edge thickness. I am getting 13 thousandths of an inch, which translates from American to English as 0.33 millimeters, which in turn translates to insanely thin. I know the 300-pound gorilla in the room is the fact that this is $350 and it's made in China. For many, the conversation ends right there. From my perspective, however, in the 3 years that I've been running this channel, I only found 3 American brands that can measure up to this level. They're Chris Reeve, Hinderer, and Andrew Demko. And their knives are 2 or more times more expensive. So if you're looking for a knife that looks great and also can do this, and then go directly into that, then I highly recommend.